Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Season 1, Episode 9 of Losing Our Marbles, A Talk for Two. Today, I'm feeling dope because the mother of dope sauce themselves is here. MsDopesauce, welcome to the show. Glad to have you.
Thank you so much.
Glad to have you here. You are a busy bee. Can I just say? You're you're a very busy person. I was scoping your stats. Hope you don't mind.
Oh, looking at my stats.
Yeah, like 11-hour stream, 12-hour stream, 11-hour stream, 12-hour stream.
Yeah, that's just what I do.
It's formidable.
Even if I wasn't streaming, I'd just be, playing all the time. That's basically.
I hear you. So, that's actually, we're just gonna go right into this. We're just no formality. Okay. We're just boom. How busy are you? That's one of my questions. Just how busy are you actually?
Well, I think I was busier before, the outbreaks. I feel busier now though. You're right. I don't know how. But yeah, I think I streamed a lot less when I was working, obviously.
Right. So is that something, like, are you happy with that situation, or is that just kind of going with the flow and doing
going with the flow, yeah.
What there is.
Yeah, I miss the outside world, but there's nowhere to go.
That's one of the things too. It's like, I would love to go outside, and then you go outside, you're like, oh right, everything's closed.
There's no, yeah.
I don't even need to go outside. We just go back in again, which is a good thing. Yeah, exactly. It's a good thing.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, as you may be or may not be aware, viewers included, this is going to be a 2-hour, more or less, show. I'll more or less lead the first hour. MsDopesauce will more or less lead the second hour. There'll be a midstream mix-up. Who knows what's going to happen? So I'm just gonna keep the questions coming. If you have anything, MsDopesauce, if you have anything that's relevant to the conversation, feel free to just launch a question right back at me. Just slingshot, right in the face. Question numero uno. I think it's a good place to start. I think it's common ground for both of us. I think it's something both of us are just gonna gush immediately. Blizzard games.
Oh. What's that?
Blizzard.
No shit.
Blizzard games.
As you guys can see, I have a Overwatch jacket. I've always had this. It's funny. I've always had this jacket on this chair. I didn't used to game on this chair. I used to game in a totally different setup. But I started streaming from this room, and I realized this chair is already decked out. I've been playing Overwatch since the very beginning of time.
So what do you think it is about Blizzard as a company that makes it so attractive to so many people? What do you think is the key to their success?
I think the key is just their ability to make graphically interesting games, and also kind of complex games too, with role. There's so many roles in a lot of their games. There's it's not just one character that does one thing.
Right.
Each character is super complex and has their own way of operating. Right. You have to learn them. I think people like the appeal of that. They can be, a main and a specializer in one character, or maybe a couple characters. Actually, but no one's like, I'm good at everything,
I've done a lot of research into them as a company, and even when they were developing Hearthstone, they were working on Hearthstone for years. But what they were doing with it was, while they were working on Diablo 3 and StarCraft 2 expansions and all that stuff, they were just they had the game, the framework of it, and they just had it in their office, so people were just playing it in their downtime in the office. And they'd submit bug reports to each other. They'd say, what if they tried doing it this way? And they just kept doing that for years. And at some point, everyone in the office was all playing Hearthstone at the same time, and they're like, okay, we got it somewhere, right? And I think it's that creative blossoming, where they really embrace constantly updating, fixing, tweaking games. Even to this day, StarCraft 2 is still getting updates put out, World of Warcraft. We're going back to vanilla. Like they're like they don't.
Yeah, they're reviving
they never give up on a game, and I think that's to me the biggest
really
part of their success. Is they respect the people that play their games, and they show that respect by constantly caring about the games and always working on them and always making them better. So I really appreciate that. Is that something you feel you apply to your streaming strategy, like as you continue to grow and continue to gain followers? Do you kind of have that same mentality?
I think so. You always have to, but you do always have to innovate and rethink your strategy all the time as well. Streaming changes a lot. The industry changes. I think there's a lot of people you can learn from and grow.
Oh yeah.
So sometimes I don't know if that strategy would always work. To continuously trying one thing over and over, even if it doesn't work. Sorry, my AC is gonna change the lighting.
It's actually not that bad, so we're good. Yeah. It's. I think also as far as streaming goes, it's really plays into where you are. If you're in that 0 to 10 viewer range versus if you're in that 20 to 50 viewer range, or if you're in the 100+ range, right? Like each of those tiers, those echelons, I think they demand different things of people. So when people always talk about hitting plateaus, I don't really buy into that. I think a plateau just means you didn't adapt to your changed environment, and a plateau is really just you falling short of keeping up with your own growth. So it's like you're definitely, I would not to bolster you too much, but you're definitely at least one echelon above where I am as far as viewer goes and Twitch goes. So what do you think like what did you used to focus on that you don't focus on anymore?
Overwatch.
just Overwatch as a game.
Yeah, I started with Overwatch, you guys, and it was very slow. I had to struggle to get the 3 average viewers, which is hard for people to believe.
Yeah.
But I couldn't.
Outside the marbles community, that 3 viewers actually like a big hurdle.
Yeah, if you guys, I see people starting in marbles, and I'm like, wow, you already have 10 viewers? That's like insane.
Right. Their first stream.
Like I had to go through a year of just grinding the 3 to 5 to 10 for a year. So after I switched games, I just dropped. Sorry, Overwatch, but Apex Legends came out and all my friends were playing it, and that kind of was the blessing for that kind of changed everything. I'm glad I made the switch.
Yeah,
but I had to adapt everything. I had to change my branding and everything around a different game. So
yeah, and
except my emotes, I'm keeping my diva emotes.
That's definitely a part of Twitch as a whole. I think is knowing which games are like if you just want to stream as a hobby, it doesn't really matter too much. But if you're actually looking to actively grow, you really need to be aware of the atmosphere. So if a game's been out for a while, and there's over 100 people streaming it every day, like you're not gonna get very far unless you're incredibly unique and incredibly good and incredibly entertaining. So always looking for that next new game that you can get in on. I had a friend who was in beta for Escape from Tarkov for about a year and a half.
Oh.
And you'd go to the Escape from Tarkov category, and there'd be like 5 people streaming it, and he was one of them, right? And he just grinding the game, trying to explore, get as good as it is possible, and all of a sudden, like the last month, everyone starts playing it, and like he was already set up, ready to go. And I think that's a very important thing that a lot of people don't consider. Like they'll see a big category, like, oh, I want to get in on this. It's like, no, don't find the small category that's going to be big. That's the trick.
Right, the next big thing.
Yeah. How are you pretty good at finding that kind of stuff? Like seeing something that might be catching on quick and jumping on before too many people do?
I don't know if I'm that good at it. I kind of just go with the flow. I know it's not the best strategy, but usually it's someone suggesting, hey, you should try this, and I kind of check it out. I look at the stats. I guess I do a little bit of investigation. someone suggested Marbles to me, for example. I didn't know anything about it, so I was not the one to discover this amazing game. It was someone told me to check it out. They had to tell me a couple times, but I eventually did.
You still got in there. That's the biggest thing, right?
Yeah,
doesn't matter how you get there as long as you get there.
Right. Yes, I don't know if I'm the best at finding things, but I do listen and I do my research.
It's amazing what a little listening can do.
Yeah.
Just
but you can't listen to everybody.
Going from not listening to listening a little is a world of difference.
Yes, that's true.
Can't be emphasized.
And then also learning who to listen to, because I had all sorts of
you will get a lot of opinions being on the internet.
Like people even now, they're like, you should stream Overwatch, and I'm like, no, we came from there. Yeah. I'm not gonna go back.
Did you have any gaming? Do you have any gaming related questions in your list of talking points?
Let's see. Gaming or streaming?
Sure, we're talking about streaming. That's all. It's all kosher.
I guess what is the biggest inspiration that got you to stream, regularly? Because that's different from just casually appearing.
Yeah, I think my biggest inspiration stream-wise is probably Day 9, Sean Plott. He was one of the original StarCraft tournamenters, and he carried over into StarCraft 2. He started doing Hearthstone. I think he's doing Magic the Gathering online now. And he always had a lot of innovative things that he did with his stream. For StarCraft 2 especially, he had Fun Day Monday, which was, I still think the greatest Twitch series ever created. He would set out the challenge of the week. So it was like, win with nothing but banelings, or you can't expand past your first base, or just some arbitrary constraint that people had to try to win in a competitive league. And people would always be complaining about Fun Day Monday because it takes them from Masters down to Diamond and or down to Silver, and they're just like, please stop making good Fun Day Mondays. It's destroying my ranking. So they're always a lot of fun with that, and that really kind of intrigued me because it was a way to cross-pollinate community and creativity. So he had the creativity to come up with and present the ideas. So people would submit their replays, and he'd watch the replays live. And he always had these wonderful asides and stories and other flourishes to embellish just what it would have been general gameplay overall. And so that concept of storytelling, the concept of cross-pollinating the creativity between the community and himself, it really struck with me as the strength that live internet broadcast has over something like television or subscription series or anything like that. It really is a unique platform that is as good in the entertainment realm as any other form of entertainment, and has those certain unique properties that really let it survive and flourish in the future, for sure. So stuff like that really captures my attention, for sure.
So what pushed you to, make these intensive maps?
I was just Pixel. I was the first one to discover the sideways loop. If you take the loop and you turn it sideways, it takes about 15 seconds for a marble to go through it. So if you have 300 pieces and you just did 298 loops from positive 1 million to negative 1 million, and a start piece and a finish piece, you'd make a really long map. And as a joke, I had it loop back to itself. So I put in a loop switch. So you went through the spiral once for 70 minutes. It launched you back up to the top, and then you had to get through the switch and go through it again for another 70 minutes. And then you went up to the top again, and then you had to get through the switch. And as kind of a reward for the people who actually got through the map, I had this ridiculous cannon shot. It shot you to all 6 boundaries of the world. So it went to the highest, the lowest, and then all 4 sides. And it was a really exciting finish because marbles would get stuck in funnels for a long time, or they wouldn't make the jump, and the other marble from behind would take over. And it was actually got really exciting after 140 minutes of the most boring going in a circle you've ever seen in your life.
That's awesome.
So Pixel said, "That's a cool idea, but what if it was like the cannon section for the whole hour?" And I was like, "Touche, sir. Touche. I'll call. I see your raise. I call it. I'm in. Let's do this." And first attempt didn't go well. I got it up to about 40 minutes before I ran out of pieces. But I was trying too much at the same time, right? I was trying to find the format. I was trying to figure out how to make pieces take as long as possible. And the process of that was I wanted to use every piece in the build. So some pieces are not good, like those intersection pieces, the little X-shaped piece. It's not good. There's no way to make that take long enough. You can make them take pretty long. You put them on a one slope and you kind of catty-corner them. But it's still not very efficient as far as using up time in pieces. So there are a couple of sections that just used way too many pieces and weren't efficient enough. But it taught me a lot about the concept of how do you take a piece and get a marble to stay on it for 12 seconds, right? Like that's an entirely different way of looking at the map. It's an entirely different way of looking at the physics. And I was really intrigued just by the refreshing mental acrobatics that it provided. Because I've been building maps for a significant while there, and I was doing things like endless funnels, where I had just a starting piece funnel and a wind bin, and without going outside that boundary, make it take as long as possible. And I got some up to like 20 minutes, so that was pretty good.
Oh my goodness.
But
I missed that one.
Yeah, they're still on my computer. I run them from time to time, but it's just it's a good refresher. It keeps things from getting stale.
Mm-hmm.
I see a lot of builders that either burn out after the first good season they have, or they just get frustrated with their maps always getting voted down and they just give up. And I think that just comes down to the ability to, kind of nurture yourself. Because as great as the marbles community is, I have to kind of call it out. It does not nurture map builders very well. It's kind of a fair weather friend, right? They love you and embrace you in the season where all your maps are doing great, and then the next season they've forgotten about you entirely, right? And in fairness, it is a popularity contest, so it's going to require constant innovation and novelty. But it's rough. It's certainly not for everyone, and not everyone's going to be able to always be good at it, because it just has that kind of a dynamic to it. So that's kind of the appeal for me, is it ensures novelty. No, Lug's trying. Lug Overloads has a really good concept in his mind for his own 1 hour map. So I might lose the monopoly pretty soon, but that'll
be interesting.
It's good novelty for now, so I embrace it, and who knows what'll be the next thing.
Yeah, I accidentally found myself in your map. I didn't know. I was brand new, and
that's generally how it happens.
I'm like, what is going on? We're just shooting. I think we were shooting across the map, and then we were shooting across the map, and I was just like, where are we going?
Yep.
So I don't know how long ago that was in your...
That's probably season 15, so that would have been
evolution.
About 6 months ago, yeah. But
so what is this? And someone said, "Oh, it's Shen's." And...
What?
Okay. You should know better.
So on the topic of streaming, I kind of feel like we could talk about most of this for the first half. Let's see. There's a weird, and probably playing Apex and Overwatch, you probably know this. There's this weird disparity I find. People want entertainment from Twitch streams, but the viewership is biased in that people don't want to watch someone who's not as good as they are at a game. So how that generally manifests is people who are really good but don't have personality will generally have more viewers than someone who's not good at the game but has a good amount of personality. There are exceptions that can, have a lot of personality and decent at a game, and they make up for it. But there seems to be a little bit of a disparity, or at least a bias, I think, where people just generally don't enjoy watching someone who's not as good as they are. And so while you have to be entertaining, you also have to be better at the game than most of the people watching your stream.
Right.
Marbles being an exception to that, because it's, you know, it's all talent. If you're not good at marbles, you're not going to get anywhere. It's just...
You have to be the best. You have to just get there. You know, we got to train every day, you guys.
12 hours every day.
You gotta coach your marble. You have to reassure it, and you know, do daily affirmations. Marble workout.
But yeah, so outside of marbles, kind of more in that Overwatch, Apex Legends thing, what is your observation in that kind of disparity between people who watch for skill and people who watch for entertainment, and how you kind of navigate those waters?
Yeah, you're definitely right. The pros, of course, are going to get the most views, whether or not they have personality or not. But if they do have a good personality, they'll really blow up. And I saw that happen to actually a lot of my good friends. They blew up. I was not a pro, so. But I still don't know why people watched. But but yeah, it is kind of difficult because you know, you just have to be yourself and put something out there that's different, whether you're good or not at a game.
Yeah, it's a challenge for sure.
It is definitely a challenge. You just have to find something that sets your stream apart from others.
Absolutely. And
so, for example, sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. Please elaborate.
For example, with mine, because I'm not good at the game, not terribly good. I think I'm decent. I'm not giving myself enough credit, but I would do challenges. So I would make it more interesting by having challenges where people could post challenges so that it would make it even more hilarious. Like, oh, you can't use a gun
right.
in a shooter. Like, you've got to punch everyone to death. Stuff like that. So that's, I think people would come by because they wanted to see me do these ridiculous challenges and kind of see, you know, I don't mind laughing at myself. I think it's hilarious.
So I think it's an essential part of streaming.
Yeah.
If you're taking yourself seriously, you're not going to get very far, I don't think.
Definitely not. Yeah, don't take yourself seriously.
Then kind of popping off of that, did you like go about mapping your current path in streaming, or is it really much more reactive, responding to feedback and things like that? Like, did you have a set plan that you went with and then kind of adjusted as you went through it, or is it just kind of like, I'm going to throw myself out there and the people are going to tell me what they want?
Pretty much that. I kind of, well, you know, I kind of go with I have a huge, I think I mentioned to you, I have a huge background in finance, so I'm a numbers person. So I would just look at the numbers too. You know, I listen
like numbers
because sometimes people don't actually tell you what they think.
Right.
They don't always tell you. So you have to look at numbers. They don't lie, right? So.
Yeah. I mean, you can lie to yourself about the numbers, but the numbers
themselves
don't lie.
Yeah.
For sure.
So I would look at trends and, you know, kind of look at different games I would play and different days, and so that would kind of drive a lot of changes. If people talk to me, yes, of course I'll listen. A lot more without listening, but
That's good.
But I would definitely always back it up with numbers. I'm like,
Anything
where's
else?
the proof?
Anything else on your itinerary there, relevant to the topics at hand?
Can't think of, like, what did I do? How did you handle it?
I really kind of looked at the environment of marbles when I was looking at it. So it's December 2018, going into New Year's, and I basically just watched, you know, the top 20 highest viewer count streams and saw what they were doing, and I was like, what do I want to see, right? What like why am I kind of frustrated? Why am I kind of not happy with what I'm seeing in some of these streams that seem to be dominating the category? And most of it boiled down to not paying attention to the game enough. So I was like, all right, well, I'm going to try to just do nothing but pay attention to the game, right? So I went in with full speed color commentary and just like really having that race environment. Right, at its core,
Right.
back then at least, Marbles was a racing game, and no one was embracing the spirit of the race. So
Mm,
I went for it, and it caught a lot of people's attention. It's not sustainable, as I talked about in last week's show with Yusuf,
right.
but it definitely got people's attention. And I think the advantage to that is by focusing on the game, the viewers I accumulated, while few, were very supportive and very devoted, and also cared about the game. And so it created this
Right.
very healthy creative environment where I could explore marbles to its fullest, and my viewers would appreciate it because I was focusing on the game that they also appreciated. So
Right.
when map building came out, when Tilted came out, when the little game modes came out, like all those things are things I can explore, and my core viewer base is with my channel because of that attention to the game. So it's actually very comforting having that support network to be able to explore the game to its fullest.
Right.
Where a lot of people, I think, either don't want to or don't know how to because they're either too new to the game or they're too worried about trying to keep the grinders happy or whatever it might be. So it's, I think I just came in from a unique angle and I just stuck to it. And that's kind of how I
Yeah,
did
that's
it.
awesome. Like how you said, you really just paid so much attention to the game because we can see that, in the way you present everything and the way you build your maps. It's obvious you have paid a lot of attention.
A mild amount.
Just,
I only spent 30 hours building the 1 hour map this week, not 50. So
oh, okay.
it's
You need to spend.
I'm
I think you need to
relaxing a
spend
little
more
bit.
time.
I'm
You spend
relaxing a
more
little bit.
time. Stop taking it so easy.
Let's see what else I got here. Ooh, okay. We're gonna we're going full 180 here.
Okay. All right.
Um, we're in a weird time where traveling and especially safety while traveling is at the high priority. Um, but before this, it's fair to say you did a good amount of travel. Is that a accurate
Yes.
assessment? Okay. So
That's quite
outside the
accurate.
world, like let's just try to have some escapism
Outside
for a
the
moment.
world.
No, like let's try to have some escapism and be outside the world of a pandemic. Like let's imagine we're either before the pandemic or the pandemic's over,
Hmm.
right?
Right.
Um, what would you say are like best traveling practices, like for safety, for efficiency, for uh, monetary reasons? Like how do you like plan out a trip, and how do you keep yourself safe, and how do you enjoy yourself, and like what's the success to traveling properly?
That's a really good question. Yeah, aside from the pandemic, which I don't even know how to navigate at this point, I would have to figure that out. Um, we'll see. We'll see. I don't know when I'll feel like venturing out there, but prior to this situation, best practices are, especially in other countries outside the U.S., you definitely just always need to have an awareness, a high level of awareness of yourself. Everyone who's in your group, you really got to be aware. Um, that's one of the top items because some people are not aware of their surroundings. Um, there's been a lot of pickpocketing, a lot of muggings. I had a lot of friends that ran into trouble, got beat up, got mugged, got their identity stolen, like all sorts of crazy stuff. And sometimes you can't help those situations, but you just really have to be super aware and do the best you can. But it's hard. But one of the key tips is to not, if you ever travel to some countries that might be a little sketchier, is you never want to connect your email, like your primary email, to the phone that you're carrying with you.
Oh, kind of like a burner phone kind of thing.
Yeah, it's better just to have a phone that you've never connected your main account email, because if they get that one email, they can get everything.
Right, because they could just do
including
password
your bank
resets
accounts.
for everything.
Yep, everything. So that's happened to a bunch of people I know. So that's what I've learned. Yes, it's expensive to have another phone. people ask why I have so many phones. This is why, one of the reasons why you gotta have one, to protect your identity.
Yep.
Pretty important. So yeah, phone is pricey, but your identity is worth more than that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
That's good advice.
And then, yeah, that's probably the top safety tip. Food is kind of hard. It depends what country you're in. I guess you gotta know how far you're willing to go. I personally have never had like a horrible food poisoning, but a lot of people have. So you just gotta know how far you're willing to go, because you're gonna be the one dealing with it at the end of the day. Yeah. Let's see what else. Having a loose plan. So, for example, if you by chance get split off from the group or whatnot, you have a place that you can meet up at and be okay. And yeah. So I've done a lot of traveling with groups, big and small, and I've been a travel lifestyle blogger too. So I've had to go along, and I've had all these equipment out. I'm always worried people are gonna, come and take the equipment or take some of the clothes I'm holding or something. But we've been really good group traveling. So try to follow those tips.
That's good. No, I wouldn't have thought about the separate phone thing. That's actually a really good idea.
Yeah, I know it's kind of extra, but it
makes a lot of sense. Because I was visiting New York with a friend, and we were on the subway, and a guy took his phone right out of his hands right before the doors closed.
Wow.
So like you can't chase him, and it's like and you're on your phone, so your phone's already open, and it's like oof, like there's nothing you can do. It's like, and if he was by himself, I wouldn't have been able to give him my phone so that he could, call his bank and everything like that. So like, that makes a lot of sense.
This was in New York.
Yep. So that's really good advice. I like it.
In Europe,
what's been your favorite place to visit?
So far, it's Spain, Barcelona, probably the land of pickpockets.
Yeah.
So that's definitely one place.
That's Catalan.
You cannot even blink and have your phone out. You can't. You got to keep it on you.
Is that more like the Catalan area or Spain in general?
Spain in general, but I love Barcelona just because the people that I've met there are really like family. It's strange. Every time I go back, I feel like I'm landing at home. So maybe like a second home. It's kind of bizarre, right? Because I'm from California.
Home away from home. That exists.
Home away from home. Yeah, the second time I went back, I felt like I was going home in a way. And in a sense it was, because all the people who had welcomed us before opened their doors again.
Oh, nice.
And, just, restaurant owners, bartenders, come drink with us, like free drinks, So it just feels like family.
Right.
Yeah, it's a different culture. Like you would never see that here. Like free drinks, and then they'll cook for you, and it's just a really nice atmosphere. I don't see that here that much with people you don't know, strangers.
Right, exactly.
It's really different.
Yeah, I think that was probably my mom and dad's experience when they visited Italy. They had that same kind of experience where like everyone's got their own wine that they're making out of their basement, and everyone's got a little terrace, and they just it's like, oh, you meet them in an espresso bar, and it's like, oh, why don't you come over for lunch? It's like, okay.
Yeah, you're like, oh.
It's like, you sure, why not? Yeah. And they're like, here, try this wine. I made it yesterday. I was like, this is the best wine I've ever tasted in my life.
So have you been there too?
I've not been there, actually. Fun story. Fun fact. Never left the United States.
No.
Oh, I know. As educated as I pretend to be, and as worldly
you seem so worldly.
I've never actually left the United States, but I consume as much information from outside the United States as I can. So
as long as you're learning.
I watch a lot of Japanese television. I watch a lot of BBC stuff, a lot of European films. I was trying to get into Russian film the beginning of this year, and it's different. How like you have a lot of those like student experimental films that a lot of college students make, where it's just like kind of all over the place and trying to be real visceral and whatnot. It's like that, but it's at a like a full product, like a whole studio's behind it, but it still looks like a student film, and it's really
That's funny.
It's hard to get into. I'm not fully sold on the idea.
Did you have to speak in Russian?
No. Some I just go through it with just knowing the plot, and others I was able to find some subtitles for. But
oh man,
it's
fun fact. I had to in elementary school for whatever reason. One year there was a Russian teacher.
Oh, nice.
I think they were trying to. It was a Christian school. I think they were trying to recruit us to become missionaries to Russia.
Oh, nice. Yeah. You got to join the Orthodoxy.
I only got as far as learning the alphabet, and then they had me learn a Bible verse to recite. Mm-hmm. And I still remember it to this day, which is like weird. But that's all I know of.
I took 1 year of Russian in college just to learn the basics. Basically, like as far as like my language acquisition goes, and spoiler alert, with the singing that I do, I like to know how to sing in whatever language I'm singing in. So in college, I basically tried to take as many introductory languages just to learn the alphabet and learn the pronunciation. So I could kind of read a Russian sentence, but I'll have no idea what I'm saying, but I'll at least pronounce it correctly, right?
Right.
And same with French. Like I don't understand French at all, but I can read it. I can pretend to speak it. So I do a lot of that. So, and I think the Russian alphabet was definitely the hardest to learn because
so hard.
What happened was they gave a bunch of people who didn't have a written language the Arabic alphabet that we use, and the Russians were like, "Oh, okay," but we never actually taught them how to use it. So they just like picked things, and like some of the stuff's upside down, some of it's backwards. They invented new symbols, and so it's kind of like that butterfly effect where the short story where the guy goes back in time and he steps off the path, and when he comes back, everything's like just a little different and it's kind of weird.
Yeah.
It's exactly like that when you're reading like Russian language. You're like, okay, I swear this word should be this, but it's pronounced entirely differently. And you just feel like you're going insane. Like, what in the heck? Why is this not making sense? I swear I should recognize this. So wait, is that a B or is that a P? What in the heck? So it does have that weird uncanniness to it, I think.
It does. We had to learn the alphabet with the song.
Nice.
Beveg.
In case anyone's interested, we'll provide.
I don't know why I still remember it. Sometimes I sing it to myself. I don't know why.
Pretty much, Kira. Pretty much.
Gotta keep the brain active, I guess.
Speaking of language, actually, since we have these topics at hand, I think most people know about your singing, but I don't think a lot of people know, or maybe they do, but just haven't witnessed your dancing as well.
Yeah, it's harder to witness that on stream, I think.
Yeah. So the question I have is, what is more expressive, singing or dancing?
No, you can't do this.
Got her. I got it. Guys, I got her. We got her. What's more expressive, singing or dancing?
Doing them at the same time.
It's sure. I mean, that's definitely
We've both done, spoiler, musical theater. So, when you put song and dance together, you can really tell a story.
Absolutely.
But I mean, sometimes there's some songs that are just, they really like hit you right here, Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. But sometimes you don't need words.
And that's kind of how I was breaking it out. So when I prepared this, it's one of my tactics I use for these shows is people ask questions that they already have answers for, right? So that's kind of one of the reasons I asked the guests to prepare questions, because anything they want to ask about, they're obviously interested in, which means they have good answers to their own questions. So I was thinking about this question myself for a couple days, and how I broke it down was we're all familiar with language. And even if it's not in a language you understand, you're familiar with inflection, you're familiar with emotion, and things like that are readily identified in singing, even if you don't understand the language of it.
True.
But that means that singing has a linguistic limitation to it. And obviously there's exceptions like Bobby McFerrin or beatboxers or other things like that who shy away from the lyrical confinements of singing and use singing as an actual instrument on its own. But dancing can convey things that language can't. Most dancing, like it or not, is actually most likely, sexually based, right? It's kind of that, it's finding a suitor, finding a mate around the fire in the middle of the plains, right? The one who can move the best can groove the best. So a lot of the roots of dancing is in that carnal natures. So when you're trying to deal with more carnal emotions, more carnal ideas, I feel like dancing actually does stand out from singing.
That's true.
Not to say both can't do it, but I think there's strengths to both and there's weaknesses to both. That kind of breaks it down. What as a dancer and as a singer, what do you find easier to convey singing, and what do you find easier to convey dancing?
Man, this is such a good question.
That's what I do. Wow. That's what the show's about. It's about real conversation.
Haven't even thought about that. And I've been dancing longer than I've been singing. I've been dancing since my mom says before I could even walk, I was dancing already. So, I would be suspended in those little chair things that you can
Yes. Those are the best.
I was already dancing. I could not walk yet.
If you're a new parent, you better have one of those baby boppers. That is the key to child success, in my opinion.
It is.
You got to get it just hangs right in the doorway. You can put it away when you're not using it. It's great.
Yeah, it was my favorite thing. But yeah, so I've been dancing longer. I think. Oh, okay. Well, let me go backwards. Let's try to see singing. Well, singing, you've got to have the words, right?
Yep.
Because people are listening to the words. Unless you're singing like no words,
right.
Then you can definitely convey like emotions such as sadness, but it's more like in your face with singing because you know exactly what you're saying. But with dancing, I guess that could be apparent too. This is such a hard question.
Good.
I'm like totally stumped.
Good. I'm glad. Well, let me throw some more fodder your way. Give you something to grab onto.
No.
This is. I'm helping you out here. I'm helping you out.
Yeah.
You're drowning in the ocean. I'm gonna shallow the waters for you a little bit here.
Treading water.
Let's say this way. So, like I just said, singing, everyone's familiar with language. Whether or not they understand the actual words or not, they understand the language. Whereas dancing, in all honesty, I think dancing can convey more than singing at its core.
I think so too.
I think the handicap is people aren't familiar with dancing as much as they are familiar with language. So like if a professional dancer is watching another professional dancer, they're getting more out of that experience than a common person is getting from listening to someone sing.
Possibly, yes. True.
So maybe give us some insight about dancing, concepts, approaches, fundamentals that you would think the common person might not be familiar with, that if they were, would appreciate dancing more.
This is where I think if you have a really good choreographer, someone who develops the dance moves or the routine that's being presented to the audience in a way that's more accessible to the audience, I think you have a really strong choreographer. Where it's not, the meaning's not hidden. It's really easy to understand. I think that's what I believe. Like if you have a really good choreographer, I think you can break it down, so to speak, for everybody to understand. Let's see, concept. I don't know. I'm super stumped right now. Because I haven't had people come up to me and be like, I didn't get that.
Okay.
But maybe my choreography is just that good. I don't know.
Could be. It could be.
Or maybe people don't know what to say about the choreography. But when I develop the choreography, I always try to make it very obvious, what's being said. Like no subtle, nothing too subtle. Okay. I don't think anything that I'm doing is only accessible to other dancers.
Right.
I don't think. But who knows, right?
And again, that might be, playing into that handicap a little bit. Like in your attempt to connect with people more, you're trying to meet them at their level, and then maybe slowly building them up to more where your level is of appreciation. So that could be a part of it.
I know for sure that, when watching dancers, I can kind of, I feel like when dancers watch dancers, that's when you can see the errors. Right. I think that's the only thing that dancers can spot more is when they mess up, when other dancers mess up. Right. Then but no one else knows. That's kind of like the magic stage, I guess.
Yeah. And like, especially going into that more nitpicking area, like there's a difference between putting your hand forward and sliding your hand forward, right? Like even just something as simple as this versus this, like that.
Right.
It's stuff like that I think people don't understand how a body in space over time especially has meaning and has conveyance, and understanding what a rigid motion versus a smooth motion implies, and how that really adds to the finesse of something like dance. Whereas in vocal, if I put a crack in my voice when I go for the high note, it's more of that desperation, soulful mourning. Whereas if I hit the note from the top and drop down a little bit, it's more that power embrace kind of a thing. Like that's more intuitive to a lot of people. So
yeah, that's true.
Interesting that those little things make differences in whether or not people pick up on them. What do you like most about each of those? What do you like most about dancing? What do you like most about singing?
I've been doing both for so long. They've really just become a part of me. It's so funny to have to articulate it, to talk about it. Shen's is making me think about things.
Oh, dang.
Usually
Shen's at it again. Shen's at it again.
Shen's has done it again. But yeah, I've always just gone and like done done whatever feels right. But now I'm like thinking about it. Shen's has stumped me. When dancing, you're right though, on the emotional level, I feel like you can convey a lot without saying anything. And I don't know, just like the movements of, I don't know what I'm doing.
I think that's the 7 pots. Dance. That's the 7 pots dance, right? That's the 7 golden pots.
We're gonna make a routine right now. Stop making people think. Oh. No, it's good. I haven't thought this deeply about what it is, that I've done for so long. It's like a lifetime activity, and I've never really put it into words or written it down. Or
maybe you should write a book. Who knows? Maybe after this you can write a book, singing and dancing.
Well, first I gotta get like a sentence out.
Sometimes that's all it takes, and then it's just. It's the first crack in the dam, and then the whole river flows through, right? You never know.
Yeah, I can't. I'm having trouble.
That's all right. That's all right. We don't have to put you on the spot every time. Why don't you throw something back my way? Let's give it the old 180 here. Okay,
well, what about you then? Tell me your thoughts, because you clearly thought about it.
I tried to entertain them. I'm not much of a dancer. I'm much more formal dancing, so ballroom dancing and tango. Tango is definitely the thing I like most. The issue being I can't really practice tango without a partner, and it's very hard to find a tango partner.
I mean, you can, but...
you can only go so far, right? if you spent your whole time learning it by yourself, your first time with a partner might be a wake up call, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
So, I'm more into the more formally structured dances, not so much the expressionistic freeform stuff or even pop dancing. But I definitely can respect the pop dancing for sure. That's just the physical demand alone, even like not looking at it artistically, looking at it athletically. I actually have a lot of appreciation for a lot of modern dances. But I think with singing for me, and this is going back into more like beatboxers and especially Bobby McFerrin, where they have an ability to capture you, right? It's that moment that you hear something and you stop and you listen. First time I heard something composed by Wynton Marsalis, it was his Swing Symphony, and it was the second movement. And I heard it on my drive home. I got into the driveway, and I just sat in the car and listened to the remaining 20 minutes of the whole piece because I was so infatuated with it. And I think singing has that capacity where you hear just a little bit, just maybe four measures, one refrain, just something, and you hear it and you literally stop, and you just listen. And I'm sure there's some dances that have that same encapsulating power to it, but again, a bit more inaccessible because people aren't as familiar. But for me, that's what I like most about singing, especially just vocal work in general. Usually more stuff without words than with words. And that might be because of the familiarity. Everyone's used to hearing people sing with words. So when you hear someone who's beatboxing or you hear someone who's just, doing improvisation, you have to like stop. You're like, wait a minute. What are these sounds this person's creating? What? And it's like this world that just envelops you and you have to stop and absorb it. So that's what I like most about singing. That unique encapsulation that it seems to have when it's done right.
Yeah, that happens to me too. Sometimes I'll be in the car and I'll just chill out in the car and be in there for hours. And then I'm like, wait, how long have I been in here?
Yeah.
I've just been engrossed.
Yeah.
I honestly don't know I have gotten lost in YouTube videos of dancers, but again, that might be because I'm a dancer myself.
Right.
And I'm like,
right.
oh, that's some great choreography, but I don't know if other people would appreciate it from that standpoint.
Yeah, it's a weird, complex world. What can I say?
It is.
It's a weird, complex. Well, I think we've reached the midstream mix-up.
Later.
I think we've reached the midstream mix-up. It's the midstream mix-up. Woo. Okay, so we were thinking singing might be fun, but the logistics of such a proposition have been challenging. Yes. So here's what I was thinking we could do for the midstream mix-up. I have songs I like. You have songs you like. Why don't we try this? I want you to mention a really far out, no one knows about song you really appreciate. I will mention a song that I think is really far out, that I think no one else appreciates. And we'll see if we can bridge the gap, either by jumping to other songs related or just finding commonalities between those two things. So I can go first, you go first. Just a song that you don't think a lot of people know about that you think's really good. And I'll see if I can't bring some stuff up on YouTube or something without.
A lot of people don't know about. Wow.
Yeah.
I'm like obscurity. I'm trying to think.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, you've already apparently thought about this, so.
Well, as I said, it's up to you whether you want me to go first or you want to go first.
Yeah, you go first.
Okay. There's two ways I can go, so I'm going to set this up nice enough. Okay, so for me personally, especially with singing, Brahms. Oh my goodness, Brahms. Love me.
How did I know it was gonna go? It was gonna go in that direction.
Brahms. There's a baritone solo in Brahms that is it's just the best. Let's see if I can play a little bit. You should be able to hear this on my stream. I don't know if you can hear it through. but it's just such a... It's just so It's just so good. It's so good. The high note, the small chromatic variations in the build-up, the fall at the end. Oh,
I couldn't really hear it, but
that's okay.
I need to get the stream.
That's
there. We go. Lost it.
I could probably send you the file actually in Discord. Let me see.
Wow. How did I know it was gonna go there?
Let's see. But I have other ways I can go too. Let's see, Brahms.
I mean, I love classical music too.
There.
I'm trying to think of obscure.
Oh nope, file's too big. All right, so the other one, if we can stall for time here, the other direction I can go. So are you familiar with Aphex Twin? It's kind of like a...
No.
Okay, so Aphex Twin, kind of like Crystal Method, if you know them.
Okay.
They do a lot of like experimental DJing stuff, and they have a lot of interesting sounds they use. So I got one playing right now, actually. And what I like most about Aphex Twin is that they come up with their own sounds. Like, they're not remixing samples. They produce a sound for a song, and then they use that to make the song. So it's really like a creative endeavor from the ground up, really exploring what sound does. And they have fun going around with whatever they can do. And they go all over the place. They've got really like beat heavy stuff. They've got really they can go pretty much any direction. And what I've found, there's an orchestral group called Alarm Will Sound. And what they did, which is crazy, because a lot of this stuff is like DJ digitally, so you'd think you can't replicate it with physical instruments. But what Alarm Will Sound did is they took an orchestra and a bunch of really good musicians, and they physically recreated music. So like it's an actual guy on the drum kit that was remixed. They've got the samples. And Aphex Twin's always doing weird stuff where like they'll stop a sound in the middle of it so you don't get the decay, or they'll pick the sound up halfway through so you don't get the attack. And if you listen to this long enough, you'll hear them try to emulate that. They cut off a note, or they blend into another thing and get the attack, stuff like that. So I think Alarm Will Sound also falls in that category where like it's really layered. Like first you have to know Aphex Twin, and then you have to know orchestral music, and then you have to know Alarm Will Sound. Like there's a lot of layers you got to dig through before you can understand what's actually happening in the music, right? So
that's super cool though.
So how do you feel in your realm of unappreciated music? What comes to mind?
I don't know about unappreciated, but just not as
little known. Yeah,
little known. Well, how do I share it to you now?
You could send me a YouTube link, or
I don't think it's even on YouTube.
Oh, nice. Real avant-garde. If it's a small file, you can try to send it over Discord.
I don't know if I can. Let me see. Hold on. Let me see if it'll play off the website. Hold on. Play. Would you play? Play? Okay. See if it'll play. Okay, let's see if it'll play. I sent you a link.
We have a raid from Kate Cackboy catching us in the middle of our of our midstream mix-up. Welcome in, everyone. You survived the Hero Heaving Masterpiece. Congratulations, everyone. Congratulations.
Oh. How many people survived?
At least 78. All right, so here's a song. Let's see what we got here. Ooh, there we go. All right, so this is Ben Prunty.
Yes.
So this more.
I just like his
trance
use.
music.
No, it's not. It's electronic, but it's not.
Oh, okay,
like,
electronic.
Yeah, it's not EDM.
Gotcha.
I just like his use of, all the different types of sounds. He's very aware of all the different background noises, and just the way he combines it is very unique. And it's not just this track, but like other tracks as well.
Yeah, I think that definitely ties into with like Aphex Twin, with just that ability to have that manipulation of sound, as it were. Right. And really understanding what sound is and how to craft it. So that's.
I'll have to check out more Aphex Twin now.
Yeah, definitely. If you like that, you should definitely check out Aphex Twin.
Yeah, definitely.
APHEX, and don't watch their music videos. Don't.
Oh.
You won't sleep for several days.
Oh, is that bad? Okay.
They're quite terrifying. They're very good at it. They're very good at making terrifying music videos. It's kind of alarming.
Oh, okay. Thank you for the warning.
And again, welcome in everyone from the raid. Thank you again. We're in the middle of a talk show, so we can't do too much with chat right now, but we do have a Q&A after the show. So if you want to stick around till then, we can do a little more interaction there. And we just finished our midstream mix-up. It was a short one, but it was a good one. I'm going to check out more of that.
Unless we add an encore. Oh yes, we both. Oh yes, we both.
We're debating if there was a way where we could both sing some musical number.
I know. We wanted to sing Chicago for you guys, but we couldn't find anything.
We couldn't really work it out,
without getting in trouble.
Understandable. Maybe next time. All right. Well, I think we fully derailed here, so mission accomplished. Yeah. GG's. Woo-hoo! Let's get into the second half. As is tradition, right. The guest is in charge of the second half. So please, the floor is yours. You can go anywhere from here. Literally anywhere.
All right. Well, we did talk about games a lot, but
we did.
We are losing our marbles, so. Tell us about the moment that you discovered marbles on stream. I want to know about your
So at the time, I was doing a lot of Hearthstone, and similar to Overwatch, it was already saturated, so I wasn't really getting anywhere. I was doing it as a hobby though, so I wasn't really too worried about viewer accumulation or anything like that. But I wanted to find something that I could stand out more in, because I didn't really have much to offer outside of like YouTube tutorial videos. So YouTube, it was fine, but for Twitch, it wasn't really good. And I was doing different games. I was doing like a Mistcraft mod in Minecraft. I was doing some Darkest Dungeon, Don't Starve, trying some other like puzzle games, like variety streaming. I had, for a while, I was doing like an SNES series, because I have an SNES that I can plug into my computer, and I can run some old games. So been doing stuff like that, and I was still looking around, and I found the marbles category, and I was watching some streams, and I was like, man, so this is viewer races, where like people are invested in the race. And up until then, there were a couple things in that realm that I wanted to get into. So I don't know if you're familiar with World Cup Japan, the RNG horse racing weird video.
Yes.
Do you know that one?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was trying to get a hold of that, but unfortunately the person who had that was only on a website, and the website shut down. So there's no code available of it. You can like download old videos of it, but you can't run it for yourself, which is what I wanted to do. So I was always looking for something like that. And that's when I found marbles, and I was like, this could be it, right? And so I just went for it. It was January 1st, 2019. I had just rebranded my stream not too long ago. So like I had a new YouTube, a new Twitch, a new Twitter. Everything was all under the same name and ready to go. So it just seemed like something I could jump on and go for. And it went better than I anticipated. So,
and that was it.
One of those right time, right places situations.
Right. Yeah, that's awesome.
So that's how it happened for me.
That's awesome. Yeah, for me it was a moderator who kept telling me marbles, and I'm like, what is marbles? It's a bunch of people.
You don't understand.
These
marbles
rolling around. I don't get it. They're like, no, you just have to watch it. Like, just watch the stream. I'm like, I can't. Like, I don't understand. Because I watched like a YouTube video, which is not the interactive experience of marbles on stream. It was just like a video of the greatest moments of marbles. I didn't get it at all. So I finally, okay, I'm going to click this link. They had to send me the link of someone who was live, clicked it, and then I was instantly hooked.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. I got it.
Ooh.
Right away. You were talking about your rebrand.
Mm-hmm.
What is kind of your experience with rebranding, and when do you think it should be done, or some kind of advice to those who feel like they need a rebrand from time to time?
For me, it's a little tricky because I'm in a situation similar to yours where I'm trying to balance money and time and resources, and none of them are in any surplus of any kind. So it's not always easy for me because there's a lot of things I want to do that I can't do, and things I need to do that I don't want to do, right? So I think for most people, it when you see it. You'll get to a point where like, wow, I need to update this, right? Or this just isn't working, or I don't like the way this looks anymore. So for most people, I think it's going to be pretty obvious. But for me, I started kind of a little hyper-specific with what I was doing, again, because it was a hobby. So when I was trying to transition into having more global appeal, I needed to simplify everything. I needed a more minimalist design. I needed a simpler, easier to remember name. Because the name I was previously going was the Shenaniganery, where I was shenanigans and the channel was the Shenaniganery. But trying to get someone to spell Shenaniganery properly was not working.
Really hard.
And if the first words out of your mouth after you tell someone what your channel is, and let me spell that for you, that's like
right.
That's a problem. Like, most people don't have to look up how to spell MsDopesauce, right? But you might have to give a couple tries before you get the Shenaniganery right. So
it's pretty good though.
It was great. Catchy. That's why I used it. It was great, but it's just on a marketable level, it was a fucking nightmare. Like it's not marketable at all. So just kind of simplified everything, and that was just because I wanted to go in a different direction. And actually, just during my vacation in the beginning of the month, I took about 5 days off, and I just redid all my images. So all the panels in Twitch down below, all the Twitch chat icons, my thumbnails, all that stuff. Just kind of updated everything, got everything a little cleaner, a little more close to what I want it to be. And that's just part of the growth. Like I'm getting to a point where people are regularly subscribing, regularly donating bits. So I want to make sure they feel validated and recognized for their contributions to the stream. So the least I could do is put a little more effort into the thing that symbolizes that, right? So and that goes back into the creative community involvement, right? So I was talking about with Day 9 in his ability to blend creativity and community building. So I would come up with an idea and I'd post it in my Discord. And I have a separate section in Discord, the think tank, where anyone who has an idea submits an idea. And if I have an idea, I get feedback from the community right away. So I would come up with a couple thumbnails, threw them in the Discord, and people were like, oh yeah, that one's great. Or like, ooh, right? And so that way I knew they liked what I was creating for them. So that made me feel better. And if they didn't like something that I was creating for them, then I knew not to waste any more time on it and go in a different direction. So
yeah, it's always good to have a sounding board. Like, what do you think of this? No, not so good.
Yeah, so that kind of community-oriented creativity, I think, is really good, especially when it comes to rebranding, because those are the people that are most affected by it. They're the ones that look at it every day. They're the ones that are trying to spread your channel to other viewers. So if they don't feel good about it, if they don't like what they're promoting, they're not going to do it.
Right,
So
of course.
you definitely need to involve people in those kinds of processes. And going back to what you were saying before, you have to be able to trust those people, right? It needs to be people whose opinions you value and who are going to lead you in the right direction and not just kind of self-serve, as it were.
Right, exactly. So, you do have a performing background, as we discussed, but not everyone may know that. But how do you think that your performing background has helped you, in the whole streaming life?
I've always been an entertainer. You can just ask anyone in my family. I'm definitely the entertainer. I've been singing since I was 3. Any social function, I'm always the one to give the speech that no one else wants to give. And I was really just refining my chops for the most of it, right? So, like, especially in high school, there'd always be, school events, church events, community events, whatever. And just throw them out. So I literally, at that age, you really have nothing to lose, right? A lot of people kind of have that drama in high school where like, oh my God, my life is ruined. It's like, no. High school is your last free pass. Like, abuse it. Anyway, if you're in high school and you're watching this, trust me, your life starts after high school. So whatever you want to experiment with, do it now. Just go for it. And if everyone hates it, great. Now you know none of those people should be your friends for the rest of your life. And you can find real friends, and they're going to carry you through the rest of your life, right? So I would just go out and give a speech, and sometimes I'd say things, and people would be like, oh, and I would learn. I'd be like, okay, well, if that makes people go, oh, then now I know what to say to make people go, oh, right? And then you can start utilizing those interactions. So
feedback, yeah.
Especially with like the church functions, there was a big generation gap because it was always the parents and the kids, and there wasn't a lot of in between. So even just playing with inflections and sentences. So there was a line I had to deliver that was supposed to be, most of you who are in your 50s will remember, right? But how I delivered it was, most of you who are in your 50s remember, right? So I was like, just playing with the words a little bit, and the whole crowd was like, oh, like, right? So it's just like, right? So just even having a little fun with it, like, didn't even have to change a word, but just delivered it a little differently, right? And that's what I mean by like kind of cutting your chops. It's like, just go for it. And if you get a bad reaction, like, now you know, like, that's okay. Doing that gets that reaction. I could use that later for something. And if I don't want that reaction, then I'm not going to do that, right? So you can really, you really start just playing with it. And I think that's where the entertainment comes from. It's your interaction with a large number of people. Everyone's comfortable talking to one person. But talking to a group of people, there's each individual person in the group and then the group itself. And it's a much more complex interaction, and it's a much more daunting task. And you are either going to be the kind of people that never want to deal with it, as public speaking ranks among the highest fears for most people, or you can just be someone who throws yourself into it and just go for it. So
how do you feel? How do you feel, though, with an audience that doesn't respond?
Audience that respond, I'll make them respond. At this point, I don't have that issue anymore. I had that issue probably up until about second year of college. I remember I was doing like backup piano for a blues duo on guitar. And I would do a couple solos that not everyone liked. And I was working on magic at the time. So I wanted to do just a magic show for the bar. And I knew it was going to be a disaster, and it was a disaster. But you need those disasters to know, like, because even in a disaster, there's going to be that one person that laughs at that one thing. And that's what's going to stick with you. You're going to be like, wait a minute. So no one liked any of it, but that one person liked one thing. And in a field of no one liking anything, one person liking one thing is huge, right? Because like the equivalent to that would be, someone staring at a pile of poop. And no one likes it. But then imagine something so enticing, like a diamond or like a ruby that's like buried in there. And one person's like, ooh, I want that. And they go for it, right? Like, and that's the point, is like, if the pile of shit is that unappealing to everyone, and there's one person willing to get in there for something, you need to know what that diamond is, right? You need to be able to separate the diamond from the poop and get in there, right? So I feel like those are one of the biggest learning moments.
Identify your poop diamonds, everybody.
You gotta find your poop diamond. That's if you learn anything from today. If we're gonna caption, that's gonna be the YouTube description. I always have a 1-sentence description for the video. It's gonna be find your poop diamond. That's gonna be it.
I love that. That's hilarious.
But that's the point, right? Is you have to have those horrific experiences where you feel utterly embarrassed and nothing goes right. Because if there's any ounce of good in there, someone's gonna see it. And you need to pick up on it. You can't just miss that.
No, that's really important too. I think the performing background did help a lot in terms of all the things that can go wrong in a live show, right? You know, costumes fall off, you trip and fall, you know, all sorts of things can go wrong. And same goes for a stream. You know, lots of things could go wrong in a stream. So I feel like what you said, all those moments, those disasters, you know, can really prepare you for anything.
Yeah, it's so what about you? Like, where did your entertainment start?
Wow, I started ballet when I was like 2 or 3.
Is your body still recovering?
My toes are fine now, but it did take.
Okay.
Yeah, I did point, and it did take 2 full years, to be able to wear sandals. I did not want to show my feet. It was disgusting. Like you guys don't even know. It's gross. I don't know how I went through that. I don't know how my parents let me do that. I don't know if I would let my children do that.
That's actually a big social talking point now, especially in European countries, as to whether or not like ballet
it's really
is
bad.
Yeah, it's
bad for your ankles, your knees.
Is it actually abuse? Is the question, right?
It was very. It did feel like abuse. I would say, self-inflicted abuse.
It's like it's both physically and psychologically traumatizing.
Yeah.
To an extent. So.
Yeah.
But you survived. You survived.
I did survive. I quit before it could get any worse. That sounds great. It was pretty awful. Yeah. I discovered other forms of dance, luckily. So I just kind of moved into those. So, you know, you were talking about the really like ones that are very demanding on your body. I did jazz dance, which is so demanding on the body. Yeah. Because you have to do a lot of jumping. Yep. But it's also very balletic.
Yeah, you take a couple discs out of your spine too, just to.
Yeah. But I felt the most free, you know, doing that, you know, non-ballet. Not to give ballet like a terrible name, but just the point shoes. Yes, it started there. I didn't sing until I was in high school.
Okay.
Yeah. My mom actually discouraged me from singing.
Ooh.
One day I heard, this gets interesting. One day I heard Jasmine singing, you know, from Aladdin. And I was like, I want to be like that. I want to be a singer. And my mom says, to be a singer, you actually need to be good.
Wow.
I was like,
that's parenting 101 right there. Boom. Boom.
Yeah. So I almost gave up because I was like, wow, I guess I suck, you know. And all my friends were doing choir, and they told me, you should do it too, it's fun. And I'm like, I'm not any good. They're like, no, you should do it. It's just for fun. Everyone's doing it. Like, okay. I guess there's worse things to get peer pressured into.
Yeah.
So I did choir.
Nice.
And then everyone was singing auditioning for solos, so I was like, okay, I'll just do it too. And I got 3 out of the 6 solos for females, and I thought that was like, okay, I must be okay, right? I still have this like trauma from my mom, trauma from your mama. But you know, she was trying to encourage me to stick to, you know,
right,
not the performing arts.
of course.
Yet here I am. Welcome to Twitch.
So
that's how it all started.
Well, since we're on the topic, I actually have a question related to this. Where is your favorite place to perform?
Where?
Yes. What venue was your most favorite, or that you think would be the best place to perform?
Definitely. Ooh. I would say, you know, a local theater where the audience is in a very good formation, very intimate relationship with the audience. So there's like direct feedback. You can see their eyes.
Like an in the round open theater kind of thing?
Yeah. A nice like proscenium, you know.
Yeah.
Like, what is this called?
Actually, I got to see
like a Greek
there was a Shakespeare at a college near where I lived in Colorado. They have a Shakespeare festival every year. And they did Much Ado About Nothing, but gender swapped. So the main characters were females, and it was very much like a 1940s TV comedy show kind of thing. Kind of like an I Love Lucy kind of a vibe.
Yeah.
And it was in that kind of a theater where it had, you know, giant aisles and the audience is in a round and the stage comes out to about 3/4 of the way exposed. So that was probably the best Shakespeare performance I've ever seen. And
that's awesome.
Definitely the stage played a part in that, for sure.
It does. It really does. So. Do you think that, you know, being behind a camera, do you think that kind of limits your reach? You know, it's not in person, you know?
Yeah, I mean, definitely being in a camera in a chair is probably the most restricted as far as entertainment. You can't get much more restricted on an entertainment level.
Being stuck in one spot, yeah.
And I think that goes back again to the honing your craft and, you know, cutting your chops, as it were. It's just, if production value is not the attraction, then I know everything I'm getting as far as success is concerned is genuinely earned, right? Like, they're not just coming for the dazzling lights. They're not coming for the monetary prizes, right? They're coming for what I'm producing as content. So I actually prefer that in my current situation because I'm only at the beginning of building a community, building an audience. So I need to make sure I'm doing it properly.
Right.
And so having that kind of minimalist, most restricted form of expression, I think really helps that along. But I'm sure it will get to a point where I'm going to start needing stages, start needing theaters, and beyond all that other stuff. So yeah.
Right now I'm in like a little box. I feel like probably you and I both would agree that you would want definitely like more space, standing space.
Yeah, that's actually a question I had that I didn't prepare, but I thought of this morning. Because we both are kind of in a similar situation where our living situation is not really conducive to our craft. So the question I had was, what is so important about having that creative space? And what really came to mind for me, I don't know if you ever watched Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
He did one with Jim Carrey, and Jim Carrey took Seinfeld to his art studio in New York, where he just had the table filled with paints. He called it his womb, right? And that really resonated with me as just like having that creative space, that womb, where your ideas are born in, right? Like, so, like, what do you think is required for that space, and how important, or what is the importance of that space?
Well, I think it varies for everybody, right? Obviously, depending what the focus of your content is. I think for me, I need like a studio where I could include, you know, movement, dance,
right,
as well as be able to
maybe like a 2-camera setup, so you have like your chair set up, and
right,
you have your dance setup,
and definitely standing room.
Yeah.
Right now, like, it's really restricted. Right here is a wall, and you know. But yeah, I would love to set up like a whole studio where I can, you know, my dream has been to be able to share dance with others, because as you mentioned, it isn't not very accessible for everybody. So I would love to teach people how to dance. It would be a challenge over stream, but I feel like you can also reach more people too.
Right.
It would be challenging, but
well, especially even in like in marbles, especially as a category, that's definitely an untapped market. Is that more artistic expression? I know Jamie and you have been doing a little bit with the kaleidoscope cameras and stuff like that. But I don't feel like that's really tied into marbles entirely. So that would be definitely something interesting to watch, is to see how people get more and more artistically creative beyond map making in the marbles category, for sure. So I'd watch it.
There's a lot of potential. You'd watch it.
I'd watch it.
I thought you come up with a good
I'll keep you on the spot here for driving in more questions.
Oh, me driving questions. I thought you were asking me a question.
No.
How do you have? I guess I'm going kind of back to marbles again.
That's fine.
How do you? Okay, just in general. Then it doesn't even have to be about your 1 hour races, but how do you gear yourself up mentally to prepare for, a long journey on camera?
Makes sense. Like approaching a single stream, it's just wanting to do it, right? So if I don't want to do it, then that's a bad sign, right? If I don't want to do it, who's going to want to watch it? So making sure I have content I want to do. And sometimes it is a bit of a struggle, mostly with like tilt grinds right now. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday is kind of like my low-key day. And some days I'll be like, oh, I don't want to do this. But I do want to keep a consistent schedule for my viewer base. And I just, in fairness, I'm not going to stream if I'm like, oh, I don't want to do this, right? So I kind of have to just get in the mindset like, all right, we're going to do this. We're going to do this. We're going to do this, right? It's like convince myself I want to do it. But for something like the 1 hour map nights, like that was yesterday, right? Just, there's no preparation. It's just, I want to do this. We're going in. Let's go. And me and Bax were talking a little bit before we did the pre-show thing at 6:30. And he was like, should we be broadcasting that we're doing this? I was like, well, I've been dropping hints all week, but yeah, maybe we should actually like announce it as an event. So I like made a video spur of the moment. It was like 30 seconds long, posted on Twitter, started as many flame wars as possible with everyone just to like get the fire burning, right? And then you just go for it because you want to do it. And I think that's the biggest thing, is wanting to do it. So that's all I really need, is just wanting to do it, and then I do it. But that's me personally. Yeah, I'm a get it done kind of guy. So.
Yeah, no, you'd have to have that motivation. A lot of people don't understand that aspect, I think, when they start streaming, and they may not realize, to keep a schedule, you really have to be motivated.
Yeah.
And that's a challenge for a lot of people.
Yep.
What do you think is your biggest challenge then, since that doesn't seem to be a challenge for you?
The biggest challenge right now is just money. That's the biggest thing.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not at a self-sustaining point in streaming yet. So not only is money not available to produce the stream further, but also I have to sacrifice time not streaming to make money to keep going. Of course. Right. So
yeah. It's that balance. Oh, life.
It's brutal. So that's the biggest challenge right now. It's just, and I knew going into that was going to happen. I was hoping it wouldn't take this long, because I put in a conscious effort to full-time stream about a year ago. It was beginning of July, because I went on vacation last July, and when I came back, I fooled around with full-time streaming the June before, but I made a conscious effort when I come back from vacation, I'm going to full-time stream. So pretty much at the 1 year anniversary of full-time streaming. And we've come really far. It's a significant income at this point, but it's not quite enough. So it's just weathering the storm and doing whatever I can to make it work until I find a way.
Right. Do you think these times have contributed to a change in how streaming's been viewed by the world.
It certainly brought it more attention.
Because it's definitely different,
Right. Definitely brought it more attention. And I know Matt Pat, who does game theory and film theory on YouTube, he did a episode about this where he analyzed talk shows and why talk shows weren't translating to YouTube videos well. And the one exception being Trevor Noah, and then it's kind of explaining why he's more successful with the translation and like editing, pacing, content, delivery, all that stuff. So I think it's brought it more attention because people, there's always been this battle. Like I feel like TV and media in general has been downplaying and casting shadows on YouTube and Twitch because it's competition, right? It puts them out of business. And they don't have anything better to offer, so they can only try to naysay. They can't compete. And now that they're even more handicapped, they realize how much they can't compete and actually have to start embracing it. So now they're all starting to do this 180, right? Like you don't have these giant studios and these staffs of 50 people working on shows. It's just, a couple guys online, and the host is doing most of the work on the production and the recording and delivery and all that stuff. So it's really funny seeing them have to completely backpedal and do a 180 in this situation, which brings it more attention and lets more people shine. But at the same time, you still have that negative connotation. So like legally, YouTube and Twitch are a lot more heavily penalized than anything else, right? Like anything happening on a Twitch stream isn't anything else that's not happening in every restaurant, every hardware store, every grocery store.
Yeah.
But because it's more accessible, legally it gets more penalized. And I think it's a huge disparity, right? Like I haven't seen any government agency issue a summons to a restaurant for playing copyrighted music in their restaurant, right?
Yeah.
And, hardware stores that have some celebrity cutout as part of their promo aren't being sued by the celebrities for using their image without their permission, right? Like, so legally it's not any different, but because it's more accessible, like I can't go to the hardware store down in Florida because I'm not in Florida, right? But I can go to a Florida-based stream where I am because I can just type their address. So
you just write an algorithm and
so it is more accessible, so there should be some disparity, but I think the disparity is huge because the money I'm making versus the money a hardware store's making, like let's be real here. So that's kind of where I stand on that. But yeah, it's part of growing pains, right? So it'll all balance out eventually, and then we just keep going forward.
Right.
Has that been anything like on your mind, like DMCA or anything like that with your stream?
Oh yeah, it's completely changed the vibe of my stream.
Okay.
Because I've been pulling all these. Speaking of like music that people haven't heard, I've been playing a lot of music that come from either live sets that DJs have played, so not everyone's heard it, right? Or sets that producers put together of like long mixes and stuff like that. So that's what I've been using for my very long streams, and so it's definitely changed the vibe of that because now I don't have like a flow of music, and I also would sing because I know those mixes inside and out. I've listened to them so many times and love them so much. So I would sing almost the whole time. So you'd get a stream, but it wasn't just a stream like a stream of I don't know. I don't think it was like your average stream because I would always be singing. So it's like you get like a whole like musical experience while you're there. But now, it's not really there anymore. So yeah, I have to rethink what I'm doing as well. So it impacted it quite a bit.
I mean, you're still doing well. So I think you're handling it.
I'm trying.
But yeah,
I tried to get creative a couple times. I tried to do Twitch, I did karaoke during the one of my tournaments for my birthday. I'm like, I have to do karaoke on my birthday. I do it every year. I'm gonna do it this year too. You know.
It's good.
So I mean, I'll always try to find a way to, innovate or create, or
right.
Given the current situation. And I guess that's what everyone has to do now. So
yeah, it's a challenge.
Good luck to us all.
Yeah. Any other somewhat related questions on your end, or I can start going ways I have?
Well, I'm curious. I wanted to know, and maybe other people want to know too. Did the mustache come first, or did the branding come first?
The mustache was a part of. The mustache was a part of my brand, and the brand existed before streaming. So, part of my outlook on life being that life is too serious to be taken seriously. And, I could look like everyone else, but why, right? I've rarely been in a situation where I meet someone, life goes on, and then they meet again, and they don't remember who I am, right? Like,
right.
Oh yeah, the mustache guy, right? So it does serve that purpose of just sticking in people's brains. But I think personality goes along with that too. So
yeah, of course.
Having a mustache like this immediately sets people's minds to a certain realm, right? So they're not going to take me too seriously, but clearly this is someone who has something to say, right? Like,
right.
They wouldn't do that if they didn't want to stand out. And, you can try to naysay being superficial and judging books by its cover, but as far as the subconscious goes, it's a real thing. A human being has to make up in their mind in the first 12 seconds of meeting someone whether they're a friend or a foe. That's just an instinctual reaction that you can't fight. And in 3 minutes, it has to make up its mind about the person in general. So, if you're doing a job interview, after the first 3 minutes, none of it matters. If you're meeting someone on the street after the first 12 seconds, none of it matters. So you have to understand that's part of human psyches, and that's just something you have to deal with. So if I only have 12 seconds to make an impression, then utilizing visual cues, I think, is a good part to expedite that and offer a little bit more information into that. So
no, I totally understand that. I mean, my hair, you're probably wondering.
So I was about to say, is it the same for your hair?
I have not had normal hair since it's been a while. But I had started coloring my hair back when no one was doing it. So I definitely stood out. People would stare all the time. But now it's super common compared to before.
I've always
at least
liked
in my area.
Dyed hair.
I don't know about other
I wanted
areas.
teal hair at some point, but
oh yeah, teal's tough.
I haven't figured out a way to get that going.
Teal is really tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a balance between, you don't want to kill your hair because, it's precious. But I don't know. I like having colored hair, and I can't imagine not having colored hair.
It's a form of self-expression.
Yeah, so it's kind of similar. So I feel like my hair is kind of me now. So.
It's good stuff. Here, we're getting on time here, so I'm just gonna throw. I just wanna explode some
okay.
some conversation right at the end here.
Let's go.
I know this is gonna get you going because it's gonna get me going. What's the best way to cook? What's the best way to cook?
Best way to cook?
Yes.
Is this an audience question?
No, this is my question.
This is your question.
I'm ready. What's the best way to cook?
What does that even mean?
Right. I'll put it this way: as great as grilling is, grilling's not the best way to cook.
What's your favorite way to do?
I think stir fry. I think stir fry is the best way to cook.
Stir fry is good.
I think a nice hot wok with a little bit of oil.
It's pretty good, yeah. Because you can control how much oil you put in. Grilling kind of like if you're not careful, you can really dry it out.
Yep. And
I do like stir fry.
You don't have as much control over the temperature, so There's certain things based on their thickness or their water content. You have to have it at a certain temperature to cook properly, and you can't always do that.
Right. Yeah, it's tough.
But
unless you have a Foreman grill, which I've gotten to a heated debate with people about. It does a pretty good job. Not gonna lie, I was impressed.
Depends on what you're cooking. I wouldn't do bacon in it.
Yeah. Well, no, not bacon, but I think some of the best steaks would come out of there.
In college, honestly. I had a friend who did those Bubba black bean burgers, the frozen patties.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And if you did those in a George Foreman grill with some A1 sauce, they're actually really good.
Yeah.
Not gonna knock it.
See, you know what I'm talking about.
Not gonna knock it. Pretty dang good. But I'd have to go stir fry. Although I have to say, Thai food. Are you a Thai food fan?
I do like Thai food. Yes.
Thai food is delicious. The way they do soup, especially, like I never used to eat. Oh
yeah, it's very unique.
I would only ever eat like caramelized onions. I hated raw onion or just steamed onion.
Oh, you eat them now.
Didn't like mushrooms. Didn't like bell pepper.
That's everything in a Thai
but
soup.
There was a Thai restaurant that made a glass noodle soup, and what they did is they put very thinly sliced onions, very thinly sliced pepper, and very thinly sliced mushroom into the water right at the end. Like they put it on the table and they throw the vegetables in and you eat it.
Yep.
And I don't know what the magic is. Maybe it's the Thai basil, maybe it's the coriander. I don't know. But when I tried an onion cooked that way for the first time, I was like, this is delicious. And I've liked onions ever since. Like it revolutionized my culinary practices.
That's awesome.
So there's a unique thing to that kind of, I guess it's more South Asian. I know Korea does a bit of it too, but that kind of like flash cooking of very thinly sliced, whether it's meat, vegetable, whatever.
Have you had Vietnamese food?
I've had a little bit of Vietnamese food, not as much as I would have liked to, but
yeah, I'm in California, so it's like everywhere. I think Vietnamese food is probably my favorite.
I've seen very healthy, good street
very
food.
Accessible tastes.
For sure.
Yeah.
But that's all good.
And you can eat a lot of it and not feel too bad.
What about like you personally? What's your favorite thing to cook?
I'm more on the baking side, so I like making cake. Yeah, it's so bad.
That's good. That's good.
It's bad. It's so bad. It's sugar, but it's delicious.
So what's your favorite kind of cake then?
Well, so my mom has this recipe, so we all make those who have the recipe, which aren't many, we make a mean poppy seed cake. It sounds weird.
Lemon poppy seed?
It has like a little bit, yeah. Yeah. It's very sweet.
Yeah, I know
and
where you're going.
Our secret is, I'm not going to tell you.
Don't tell it. Here's something I do with my baking recipes.
Whatever the original recipe did, we like put extra. So now it tastes better.
That's what I do with baking, because I have a lot of little like sweet treats that I make that my friends always want the recipe for. I'm like, well, if you know how to make it, then I don't get to make it for parties, because it's the thing I make for parties, not the thing you make for parties, right?
Exactly.
So I'll give them a recipe, but something might be wrong or left out. And it's like, oh, yours just didn't come out as good as mine. Oh. Like there's without giving too much away, there's one where the recipe just says 2 tablespoons of cinnamon, and it's really half a tablespoon of cinnamon and a tablespoon of nutmeg. And there's a huge difference.
That's quite different.
Yeah. But
now I know. If I get any recipes from you, I'm just gonna
Oops, did I not write that in right? Oh, my bad.
Wow.
So,
What's your favorite thing to cook? What do you cook? Stir fry, apparently.
Stir fry, I love Korean barbecue. The fermented black bean paste is magic. I'm convinced. I'm a full convert on fermented black bean paste.
Have you been to a Korean barbecue where they just like...
Yes, that was actually the same New York City trip that my friend had his phone stolen on. We went to a Korean barbecue, and we had the whole thing, because it was just 2 of us. And in classic first experience fashion, it's like, I want everything on the menu. So we just like got a little bit of everything each, and
we're all just the first time. It's like
switching with everything. It was a great time. It was a great time.
Yeah, Korean barbecue is so good. Even times that I'm like, I don't think I could eat anything, end up going and killing the menu. With
the fermented black bean paste, it's really easy for a base too, right? So like sometimes you don't have a lot of like vegetables or anything, but if you have a good base to a sauce, you just need rice, basically. Rice, a vegetable, and a meat with a good base, and boom, you're good. You don't need too much. So that's what I like about it. But I cook all sorts of stuff, so I can't really narrow it down to one, but I could definitely highlight Korean barbecue for sure.
Nice. That's rather impressive.
Yeah. It did help that I had a Korean roommate for a year, so he was coaching me along the way.
That's really cool.
I was underestimating the importance of ginger with chicken.
Yeah.
So like if you have pork or beef, you don't always need ginger in it, but if you're doing chicken, you need ginger and you need a lot of it, and it makes a difference. So
this is making me hungry.
Good thing we're getting into lunchtime, huh?
Oh yeah. Like, oh man, what am I going to order for food?
All right. Any other questions you have pressing as we approach the end of the show here?
I think the rest is chat questions.
The rest is chat questions. Well, we have a lot of chat questions, so we'll definitely have a good Q&A after the main show here. Yeah. I have one big one I could go into.
Oh,
I don't know if 10 minutes is enough time, but you being a finance person, I think, and I don't want to cross any lines here, and I want to try to be as appropriate and respectful as possible.
Okay.
But if I may, I would put you in the category of attractive female streamer, I think is fair to say.
Okay, that's appropriate.
I think there are certain stereotypes associated with that category, which are very unbefitting and unfair. So the question I've prepared with your finance background are, what are your thoughts in wage disparity in America? And I don't just mean like you can go over gender disparity if you want, but not just gender disparity, but the class war, the race war, whatever. What do you think?
Oh God!
Go for it. Just something you've wanted to scream at the top of your lungs about. Just go for it.
Question. That's like a year question. Are you guys ready for our year-long stream? All right, let's go. Yeah, no, it's frustrating, right? Being a female in that category, right? But then there's also, of course, different areas. Myself coming from a finance background, I did pretty well for myself. This was pre-streaming, so I didn't even know what a stream was at the time. At the time, it was just like YouTubers and like, that's all I knew about. But, I was out in the finance world and just very corporate, making so much money for the corporation, not for myself, for the corporation. And a lot of it involved, since I was in finance, I did have to, figure out where to save money too. And it really sucked having to cut money from certain people, and that was something that I was forced to do. Like I was like, well, you don't need to cut $5,000 when you're making $5 billion, right? But that's just how it is. And it was so frustrating. I'm like, that 5,000 could mean so much to that person,
right? And you wouldn't even
notice it. It doesn't mean crap to the company, and it's just it killed me. And that was the position I was in. I was in a very toxic work world. I was good at my job, but it ate at me for sure. And I would see the disparity. I literally could see the wage disparity. Yeah. Because I was the one controlling all the salaries and stuff. Oh my God. And, seeing my own salary too, next to other people that aren't doing jack.
Right.
So, in terms of, people have tried to propose solutions, it's just, man, it would take a complete reworking of the world, And
I've actually had a little bit of thought about that specific area. Yeah. I was thinking there should be like a multiplicative maximum, right? So like the highest paid member of the company and the lowest paid member of the company can't exceed a difference of like 50 times, or just find some number that makes sense. Yeah. And like, it's fine if you want to make $1 billion a year, that's fine. But that means everyone working for you has to make at least $1 million, right? Like you're not 1,000 times more valuable than the person who's filling the orders. So like if there was a multiplicative minimum or maximum of difference in salary, I think that would actually, it'd be a tough law to pass in the current climate, but it's just one law that would fix a lot of things if it got passed.
There's a lot of laws like that.
And there'd obviously be loopholes where, like, you know, instead of getting paid, they would get, you know, a percentage of the company, stocks, interest, whatever. Like, yeah, obviously there's going to be workarounds, but I think it would help. It'd be a step in the right direction at the least.
I mean, that would be wonderful. But yeah, it definitely, the disparity is very, very ridiculous. Mm-hmm. When you look at it across the spectrum, oh man. And when they do the cuts, they aren't cutting it from the top guy either, right. Which is where it could have, you know, and it would be like, oh, what was that, you know? Yeah. You know, something like kind of poked me. But yeah, a law like that would be amazing. I don't know like what steps would have to be taken, but it would have to be pretty drastic. Yeah.
Not easy. Well, any other disparities you might touch on, or are you good to go? You full satisfied? The meal's been good. I'm gonna go now.
Well, what disparities do you see? What other disparities?
I think class is the biggest thing for me. I think anything else is a distraction. And I know I'm a white man spouting off about these things, but yes, there's racial disparity. Yes, there's gender disparity. But you're not going to win on those grounds for two reasons. One, you're dividing the public, right? So when you go into gender disparity, you're at 48-52 split. When you go into racial disparity, you're going into a 60-40 split, right? It's not worth it. If you go into a class disparity, now you're at a 99-1 split. Boom. Why waste time? Why waste time on making it a gender issue or a race issue? If you took the variables back into just being an American, right? So instead of saying this group of females in the same job at the same level are making 75% of what the males are, why not just say these Americans are being paid 75% of what these Americans are making for the same job? And just say all Americans need to make the same amount of money doing the job at the same level. Like, stop making it about that and make it more about the class thing. And I think there'd be more success there. And that's not to say we need to ignore race and ignore gender, but that can't be the basis of the argument. That can be your data collection to explore where these inadequacies are. But trying to describe those as the roots of the problem, I think, is inaccurate, because the real root of any of the problem is just it's a class issue. The people at the top aren't being sexist because they think women deserve less, even if they do. It's because monetarily it's beneficial to them. If there's a group of people they can pay less and get away with it, monetarily that's their motivation. They're more motivated monetarily than they are with their, you know, sexist views. And the same thing with racial disparity. If there's just 17% of the population I don't have to take care of, then that's more money for me, right? So if we can put those divisions aside and focus strictly on the class war of the 99 and the 1%, you've got a much stronger base, a much larger base, a much more unified base, and you might actually get something done. So that's my opinion. It would
take some of the 1%, you know, being willing to yield some of that power as well. Is, you know,
the French have made a display not too long ago that you don't have to have their consent. Again, going back, when it's 99 versus 1%, it doesn't always have to be consensual. You know, it is a democracy, and you know.
Yeah, it is crazy when you think about the percentage of wealth that's held within the. Yeah. Very, 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 very top.
Yeah. So that was actually a fun argument I was seeing online somewhere, was that all of these politicians are debating about what needs to be open for the sake of the economy and like how many lives is an acceptable loss. And right now with like schools opening, you have like tens of thousands of children who might die. But
Right.
if you killed the top 10,000, like if you killed the top 10,000 monetary owners, you'd have so much more money to save the economy with than killing 10,000 children, right? Like if you killed the top 10,000 people in the country instead of killing 10,000 children, the benefit to the economy would be huge. You'd have like $40 trillion at your disposal, and you could just give everyone $2,000 a month and just boom, problem solved. Like if you really were thinking about killing people to save the economy, I think children's the wrong side of the scale to start at.
Yeah.
Like
the answer is never children. Yeah.
Right. So
Killed.
it was funny hearing that argument like played out.
Wow.
It's just like if you're really arguing about acceptable death to save the economy, let's start where it makes sense. The top 10,000, right? So
wow.
You don't hear politicians with that argument, which is always
definitely
funny.
not. Oh man. To hear that political campaign, that's a new world.
So yeah, I think that's a great note to end this stream on.
Yes. Don't kill children. The others.
Don't kill children. All right. Well, MsDopesauce, it's been a lovely time. We got to talk about all sorts of things. Thank you so much for being here. I heard you have something to promote.
Oh, it's moving in.
To Marble Land.
To Marble Land.
July 25th.
It's an official Marbles on Stream tournament. It's on July 25th from 6 to 9 p.m. Eastern time.
Yeah.
I keep getting my Easterns and Pacifics confused, but that one's correct. And it's a tribute to the Tomorrowland Music Festival because it's the same weekend, actually.
Yay.
It's always that weekend, but of course it's not happening this year.
Right,
so
right. It's gone the way of the Slovenian Music Fest, unfortunately.
Right.
In the greater Pittsburgh area. It's been a topic heavy on my heart this year.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
That's rough. Feels so bad for you.
I know, right? Well, again, thank you for being here. It's been delightful. This is going to be the end of the YouTube portion of the video, but we will continue stream live this Saturday and every Saturday with Q&A with the chat. So if you want to catch that part of the stream, be sure to catch us live. Again, MsDopesauce, been lovely. Thank you again.
Thank you so much.
And we'll see you next time. Bye.